saw you guys were new here, no one knew who you guys were, and who knew what was going to happen? Obviously, you guys knew what was going to happen with everything. Talk about here we are now, 10 years later.
Right.
It's the most successful franchise in not only Lionsgate, but in cinema history. That's an unbelievable feat. Did you guys know something that we didn't know?
No, not at all.
No, less than you guys, actually.
Way less. No, we never expected to have made as big an impact as this film did, and the franchise that it eventually spawned. And so we are as surprised as everyone else have been, but very grateful for what it has done for us.
Yeah, everything with Saw was basically a bonus prize. Like, when we first conceived the idea, we were like, okay, we'll make a film, nobody will see it, but it'll be like a really expensive demo reel, and from that we'll get our next film. So then it was a bonus prize when it got released, and we're like, oh cool, it's going to get released, it'll come out in video stores.
Well, first the bonus prize was, wait, they're producers that want to make this movie with us?
I mean, everything.
Holy
like
crap.
The fact that it was going to come out in video was a bonus prize, but it didn't come out on video. It came out at the movies, and we were like, great, it'll come out. No one will see it, but at least we have a film in theaters. And like the bonus prizes just kept coming. Like we were basically like two people who went out for a jog one day and ended up winning the Boston Marathon. And we're getting medals pinned on us, and everyone's like, how long did you train for? And we were like, we live over here. We didn't actually enter this race. It was just one big, huge bonus prize.
You know what's funny about that? That's exactly what you said to me 10 years ago.
Wait,
My shtick is
using the
just
same...
solid. Listen, I'm like
Stop using the same
I'm like an old
material.
comedian. You just go back to the classics. All right. Who's next?
While you guys were writing this, were you guys obsessed with the board game Mousetrap?
I didn't like Mousetrap when I was a kid. Never really played it. I like the...
I like the commercials for it more than
commercials were
anything.
cool, yeah. The concept was cool. Yes.
But no, I guess, is the non-jokey answer to that. No. He's like, that's exactly what you said to me 10 years ago.
Fred? Tobin and Shawnee, this is the one that started it all for you also. And having probably had no idea there would be 3 more sequels for you and 6 more for you, would you have done anything differently in the first one to set up things to come?
I might not have said, let's all die.
Ditto.
I think you could have raised
Do you remember how
your
sick you were that day we shot that?
The first day.
The first day she came,
I was acting.
She was so sick that literally almost sent her home. We didn't
Was
know what
that
to
the police scene or
No, the scene
the
with
trap
me.
scene?
The
do.
jaw trap.
The reverse bear trap scene, she was so ill. We were like almost basically
I
pumping
was ill
fluids in
enough
her.
to not mind that big contraption, that
The real one.
the functional contraption on my head.
I remembered how much of a trooper Shoni was, because I had her doing a lot of shaking and trembling and convulsing in that massively heavy bear trap, and then to find out later that she was actually not feeling well either, just made my respect for her just jumped even higher.
She must have been super intimidated as well because she was playing my role from the short. So she's like, how am I going to top that? Maybe if Tobin had a time machine, I'm sure
it
he'd
was
go
easy.
back.
I just put on a short skirt and
Put 20 pounds in.
Damn it.
yeah.
Literally, the thing is, it's not made out of fiberglass or something. It's actually metal. When it was the original one these guys made, it's weight.
Highly dangerous.
Yeah.
It wasn't fun.
There
It
are
wasn't fun to
things.
wait.
There are things you asked if we would have set it up differently. There was, for me, the most important things in these films are some of the concepts that Leigh and James introduced in the first film, and they're little seeds that we tried to grow as
That
time
fell on
went on
fertile ground.
and fill out. For example, the treatment of the terminally ill, and in the medical community, and there are things that keep coming up in various forms, and so I think that lots of the things that were growing in number 1 were successfully and artfully expanded as an undercurrent as the series progressed.
As actors, do you find it a bit cathartic to explore the subject of death, especially since it is the one big unknown?
As a human being, I try and explore it daily to remember. It's kind of a like unnerving perspective, but if you can view from that perspective at least once a day, it will help you live and be a better human and maybe love a little more during this day. You know, but not a pleasant perspective.
Appreciating your blessings continues throughout the series, and when contrasted with some of the intense trappings that go on in a Saw film, I think it heightens the viewer's focus on that sort of concept. And I've been told by lots of people who see these films that the concepts that James and Leigh introduced and that were borne out have had an effect on them and on their lives. And some of these people were 9 years old, or who had seen the film, or 12, or I say, what did you like about the film? Well, you're the guy. And I say, well, yeah. And they say, we love those films. I say, well, what do you love about them? And we're standing on a baseball field, and they're, and they say, though, they teach you stuff. And I say, like what? And they say,
How to remove someone's fingernails with just a pair of pliers.
so not to make them into some philosophical wonderkind, but those are the things that many people talk about with these films.
Clark?
Even though the way it all unfolded was kind of a bonus prize, the way the film ends feels like it could be very easily set up for a bigger universe or for a continuation of the story. Did you guys have any sort of like pipe dreams or, well, maybe, like how could we continue this? Or did you really, when you set out to make the first one, just tell a contained story?
Just that story.
Pretty much was it. Yeah, I mean, yeah, of course we had pipe dreams about it, spawning sequels, but we never actually entertained the idea of sequel storyline in our head. We weren't quite sure what direction it would go, besides continuing with the story of Jigsaw, and that was it.
Yeah, I mean, for us, the ending had a lot of finality to it. Like, a lot of people over the years have said, you really left the door open for a sequel there. And we were like, no, we didn't. We shut the door, literally and figuratively.
You said game, you wrote game over.
Game over.
Not franchise.
Yeah, exactly. It wasn't like he was like, game over and shut the door and then opened it again. It was like, but I may be back. You never know. Like, to us, it had a lot of finality to it, and we just thought it was a great ending to a film. And at the time, we were really, obsessed with these twist endings, films like The Usual Suspects. And you can imagine if The Usual Suspects had made $100 million at the box office, people would be like, oh wow, that ending is so open, because he just walks away and he gets away with it. Sorry, people who haven't seen The Usual Suspects. It's a room full of film bloggers. I'm going to assume you've all seen it. Turns out Kevin Spacey is Kaiser Soze. And when he walks away at the end, like, to us, that's like a great final ending. Like, the guy walks away. But I guess you could look at that the same way people are looking at Saw and like, well, let's pick up the story and find out what happened with him. Where did he go when he got in that car? So I guess at the time, that's how we looked at it, as a kind of Usual Suspects ending where the bad guy gets away with it. But never thought of a sequel.
I don't think if we were actually really thinking sequels, we'd have our lead character have terminal cancer.
Well, I was just going to say before, somebody asked, if you had a time machine, I think that was you, Fred. I'm sure Tobin, if he had a time machine, would go straight back and be like, maybe he doesn't have cancer. What if he's healthy? Then he would go back and kill Hitler,
just an
of course.
appendicitis.
First it would be the Saw thing. the interesting thing is I remember watching the numbers, and I can just imagine what you guys, and I've thought about this for years, what you guys were thinking Friday night numbers, and who made the first phone call saying there's a sequel before Saturday.
I remember Oren had
So-
to go home. We
Well,
had
I
a little
couldn't-
drink. He was so
what
overwhelmed he had to go
happened-
home.
So, what happened is, and this is complete respect to someone that worked here, but they told us they thought the movie was going to be 6 to 8 for the weekend. And at the time, previous to that, I'd made a movie for Sony and kind of befriended Jeff Blake, who, you know, was I think he was the chairman or head of distribution, I don't know what his title was there. So Mark and I, we were all driving down Wilshire to go into
Westwood.
Westwood to see the two big theaters and see, because they were saying they were actually adding a midnight. They actually didn't have it scheduled, and they added a midnight. And Jeff Blake called me and said, wow, you hit a home run. And I didn't even know he had my cell number. And I was like, well, what are you talking about? He said, well, we thought 6 to 8 for the weekend is what Lionsgate had originally told us. And Jeff Blake said, I think you guys can do 18 to 20 for the weekend. And we were literally, so we went to watched them reload up the theater, and they were all going out. I couldn't take it. I got in a cab, went home. I just was so stunned. Because, yeah.
The rest of us went drinking.
Yeah, they went drinking, but I literally informed everyone, because we thought 6 to 8, and we were a little disappointed. We thought we could at least do double digits. And when Jeff Blake called, said 18 to 20, and they'd had The Grudge out. So we were like in the second or third week of The Grudge at that point, so they were tracking everything really tight. And they told us that. And it was actually Jeff Blake, of all people, that told us what we were going to do.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah, and so we all met up.
And the person that was at Lionsgate's no longer here, so.
No one can see.
Well, I just remember there was 2 times, you see, at that point there was like 28 radio syndicates, and we were talking the next day for the junket that we had, and we were watching the numbers, and like, our mouths had dropped, and it was only the second time we were thinking, the only time this ever happened was for Blair Witch when it came out. We saw the lines at midnight, and we knew something was happening, and we're like, holy crap.
Well, that's why we drove to Westwood. They actually opened a month earlier in the UK, which some people know and don't know, and we did 12 million in the UK, which is not the biggest territory. And to do $12 million before a US release was unheard of, and I think it really gave Lionsgate some push and some confidence to really give us a good go. And it gave the theater owners a chance, also, you know, a good push to open the theater, give us more screens. Because at the beginning, we were talking about 600-700 screens. And it just, that week, they kept adding more screens and more screens and more screens.
Terry just shared with us your pitch to him. James, what was your pitch to Oren and Mark to get them to make this in the first place?
First, I want to choose one. Greg was involved too.
Yes,
Greg was in the room, so it was.
Yeah, so I mean that's how Greg would come into the equation. Lee, the best thing Lee and I kind of have done in our life would be not many things, but I would say that picking one scene from the script and shooting that as a little short film was the biggest sort of pitch tool that we've ever had, and so our manager Stacey Testro got our little DVD video, a little short video.
VHS we got.
Oh, so you guys got a VHS?
We got a VHS.
Copy, yeah, wow, that's awesome.
The scene that Shawnee copied Lee.
Yes, that scene.
Make sure that Lee
The Shawnee
originated
scene.
that work.
Yeah, Shawnee was like, you know what? I want that scene that Leigh Whannell played. But we Stacey got it to an agent in LA, and it just so happened Greg Hoffman was at that agency at that particular time, and that agent Ken Greenblatt said, hey, Greg, come in. I'm not quite sure what we have here, but this is something pretty interesting. And so he showed Greg the short, and Greg was pretty blown away by it. He was like, he had never seen anything quite like this before, and Greg said, can I take this short and a copy of the script, and I wanna sell this to his boys, which were Mark and Oren, and that was pretty much the rest was history, and Mark and Oren really leapt at it as well, and we were very grateful for that.
The truth be told is they came and sat in our conference room, and it's a long story that Mark and
Just
I...
gotten off the plane, I think like 3 hours.
But Mark and I actually made John Q the year before, and the movie cost about $30 million, and our first profit statement after $100 million worldwide, 100 plus, is that we were down $40 million. So Mark at the time said, we have to start owning our own product. Let's just put some money in and do it. And so these guys literally come stumbling in about a week or two late, just landed off the plane, and I don't think that they thought we were just going to do some type of development deal, or because you'd been offered one by Gold Circle, but it was just development.
Yeah.
So we walked in and we don't want to deal with that. So we said, remember we all sat in the room, and I looked at James and I said, do you want to direct this? And you're like, yeah. They thought we were just doing like, 50
We
against
started
something.
laughing.
Yeah, they did. Then I looked at Lee,
You
and I
wanna
said,
start?
do you want to start it? And he's like, he said some quip, some great Lee quip. And
It's not
we said,
like
no, we're
me.
serious. We're going to start in 6 weeks. And the one little note I want to tell you is that when we started prepping it, and we started doing all the work, sets and everything, for some reason, Lee had trouble with your immigration. So we sent him, everyone said, go to Ottawa, we can get him out. And get him
No,
right
that
back
was
to the
me.
country.
They both had
No,
to
I meant
leave to come back
Yeah.
So
together.
James had to go, and so all of a sudden, James couldn't get back in the country. He's in a hotel room in Ottawa, and we're sending him, like, what the bathroom's gonna look like, and he wasn't even here for the prep.
Yeah. I was prepping through the phone with my
And by the way,
production
this isn't
designer.
like, 10, 11, this is 11 years ago now. 11 years ago, you didn't have, now you could just shoot it, push. It wasn't like that. We were trying
Yeah.
to send little, like, 10-second QuickTime files.
Yeah, that was tough.
Yeah.
And even just doing it through the internet at the time was like
Just
it was
trying
a
to send you
slower.
stills. Yeah, just trying to send you stills.
Basically, immigration saw your short. They said, we don't want you in the
They
country.
wouldn't let
It
James,
was-
let James.
I wasn't born in Malaysia, so immigration rolled out the red carpet for me. I was throwing down rose petals.
How long
They come in.
But how long were you in Ottawa for? Like 10 days, right?
I was supposed to be there. You guys told me I was supposed to be there for like 3 days, and I've been stuck there for like 2-3 weeks, and that was
While we're prepping
precious.
the movie.
Yeah, precious pre-production time that I didn't really have to begin with. And I remember I didn't get to meet my DP, David Armstrong, until I got back from Ottawa, it was only 3 days before we started rolling camera.
We couldn't
And-
stop. We were started.
Yeah. So that was pretty frightening, and but fortunately, I could relay enough information through the phone to you guys, to Dan Hafner, the line producer, and to Julie, my production designer as well, to kind of get the ball rolling. It was pretty nerve-wracking.
For all of us.
Right. Well, especially since you guys invested your own money in it, so
Yeah,
that
we
was
couldn't get into
crazy.
the country.
Well, why did you suggest James to direct? How did that happen?
Because we saw the short. The
Right.
short was, to me,
James
one of
directed the short.
James directed the short. It was one of the most captivating things I've ever seen. And for us, all I did that night, and I just kept reading the script saying, please be good, because the short was so amazing. And the funny thing is, in truth be told, about page 98, they said the guy gets up. I'm like, what guy? Because it's one line on page 3 that there's a guy laying in between, and you forget about that. So I'm like, what guy? I'm like going back. Where's the guy? What guy got up?
If only the script was a bit
The
better.
short, I know.
I was
No,
carrying
it's-
the
by the way,
script.
Aaron at the time, I'm like, this is so amazing. You must have loved the script. He's like, there's a script for this? No,
No, the
you're
script
not
is
understanding.
amazing.
It must be the accent. I want to make a feature film out of that short. I'm like, yeah, there's a script for it.
Yeah, no, it was amazing. But I remember reading, the two things I remember is just praying, because the short was so amazing, that the script would hold up. And it
didn't,
kept,
but we planned ahead.
obviously it did. But the second thing is when the last page or 2 pages, the man gets up, and I'm like, who?
It's really paying attention.
Well, it was a one line.
All right, guys. Well, unfortunately, we're out of time, but we want to thank everyone from
Thank you. Thanks so much.
here celebrating the 10th anniversary. And thank you.